them out in security golf carts and the fire department golf carts that are here to help people who are hurt. But just an unbelievably frightening situation here, and to watch it, break out right in front of you at the end of what has been such a jubilant day is just awful.
Yeah, it really is awful. Neil, were you getting the impression that some people were sent inside Union Station to take cover?
We are not on that side. Okay. From where we were, they were sending people away, but I have no doubt it's like an explosion. When something happens, everybody around it goes away as fast as they can. So people that were over towards Union Station, in running away from the firemen or the gunfire, they would have run towards Union Station. But the side I'm on, everybody came away from Union Station and towards us, and it was just an awful situation. Could not have happened at a worse time, with hundreds and hundreds of people jammed in together, peacefully walking away with their families when this happened. They all ran right towards me, and you could see children, you could see older people, and I mean utter terror.
Neil, it's unreal that we're talking about this right now, but this is the reality of what is happening right now. You were right there. You said you were about 35 yards away from the area where it appeared that shots had been fired. You've done an unbelievable job of describing this to our viewers who are watching and hanging on your every word right now. Did you think, I know you said you thought it sounded like fireworks, but did you have any idea that something bad was happening?
I believed it was gunfire only because of the reaction of people closest. The people closest to the situation were running in utter terror. It sounded, I don't own a gun. I don't go out and shoot guns. It sounded like fireworks, but the reaction of people made me believe that it was gunfire.
Well, it was a violent reaction of people trying to get away in the midst of that violence. Neil, we're going to go back to you momentarily. Thank you for everything that you've been telling us. And again, Neil, very, very close to this when it broke out.
Yeah, far too close. And as were so many, literal hundreds of thousands of people. We've been talking all morning with our crews all along the parade route. Let's go back now to Jillian and Shane. Guys, did you hear anything from where you are?
Yeah, we were out on the media riser just in front of Union Station, and we heard something similar to what kind of Neil was talking about there, with either fireworks or pops. I was actually down on the ground, and Jillian was up on the riser. I looked up at you, Jillian, and you said, get up here right now.
Right, we saw people running out of Union Station on the east side of the doors pretty frantically, and at that moment we were receiving information that we needed to change where we were, so just to gather and then just get to a safe space. So there was information provided quickly, which was nice, but sure, it was a frantic situation, and it is still a little chaotic as people are still finding family members and understanding where is the best, most safe route away.
Yeah, police are still continuing to kind of move us further and further away from Union Station, and like you said, when we were out there, we heard those pops again while we were on the risers, and then some people actually sheltered in place inside Union Station as well. But we're continuing to learn information. Obviously, we're going to see what we can find out from authorities out here as much as we can, but for right now, guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you both. Yeah, you're looking live here now. I want to show you more live pictures around Union Station here as a rally scene has quickly turned now into a crime scene, and the evacuation of partygoers has turned into a mass exodus by people literally scared for their lives.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, here we go. Here are someone else on a stretcher being rushed, presumably to an ambulance or to somewhere where they can receive some first aid. But you're right, Carolyn, this has now, not only is it a crime scene, but it was not too long ago that there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people here, and then someone fired a gun, and it created mass panic there. People literally running for their lives, people seeing others drop. We're hearing as many as, this has not been confirmed, but we're hearing from our crews on the ground there that there may be as many as 4 people who need treatment. But an unimaginable incident to happen following what was Kansas City's shining moment. The Kansas City Chiefs celebrating with their hordes of fans what had been a spectacular, unbelievable season, and now it's marred by a tragic incident in which there have been gunshots fired, people have been injured, and everyone has been told to evacuate the area as soon as possible.
And we are hearing from Neil Jones at this point that 2 armed people were taken into custody there on that scene by police. Whether that is the entirety of the people with guns involved, we don't know. And we don't know how active of a scene this is still right now. So obviously still a scare in the air. And so let's go now to Zach and Sharon higher up for us now with a bird's eye view of what is happening. Guys, did you hear anything?
Yeah, no, we did not actually hear it, but we saw it. It was right at the end as we were wrapping up our show. We turned around and we looked at Union Station and the crowd, and all of a sudden we noticed that there was a stream of people running out from Union Station, and we saw the cops running back in. And at that very same moment, we heard dozens and dozens and dozens of sirens headed towards the city. And then soon we saw just a string of emergency vehicles pull into the War Memorial here and then turn out and go down, try to get to Pershing in front of Union Station. But Zach has also had the binoculars out, and so he's seen a lot of this activity closer than I have that's been going on. Zach?
Yeah, you know, Sharon, right now we hear police on the loudspeakers telling people, look, the parade is over, you need to clear the scene. If we could, if there appears to be, well, there's a number of choppers in the air right now, but what we're seeing from here is the crime scene tape is to the west of Union Station. So it's on the west side. So that may be where this all went down, just as you're entering Union Station near Pershing, where the players were, where the stage is. I'm not seeing any police tape over there. It's just to the west of there, and that's where a lot of police officers are located. And some of those little vehicles carrying those gurneys that Neil mentioned just moments ago, they were stationed over here because, as Sharon mentioned, we heard just a number of ambulances trying to make their way around the memorial to the west side of Union Station, and that's where a number of those ambulances are stationed right now with those smaller vehicles to get people out. But from here, we're not seeing any victims, at least from this vantage point, and maybe they have already been taken to the hospital. But what I am seeing as I look toward the entrance of Union Station there's a good amount of people who are exiting. So you might imagine that those people ran into Union Station, shelter in place, when those shots rang out, and now police are escorting them out. Brad, Carolyn, that's the latest from here.
Zach and Sharon, thank you for your perspective. Please be safe.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, we want to get straight back to KCTV5's Neil Jones. Neil was very near the shooting when gunshots were fired, so we want to go right back to him. He's very near that area right now. Neil?
Well, guys, I'm standing in front of the shooting scene. It happened right over there, to the right of that tree there. You can see a wheelchair. It happened in that area there. Imagine this intersection here being filled with hundreds and hundreds of people walking very calmly away from Union Station when suddenly what appeared to be fireworks ended up being gunfire broke out. They immediately, the police began to run in as people tried to run out. There was screaming, there was crying as people tried to get away, tried to get their families away. And they ended up apprehending someone over there behind that red where the Kansas City Fire Department truck has just stopped. They ended up apprehending somebody, it appeared, right there. They subdued somebody. He had been wounded, it looked like maybe 2, and they took him out. Don't know if he was wounded or not. They were treating him, but they definitely took somebody out. There were people who said that was a suspect. No guarantee about that, but that's what we were told at the time. That's what I heard several police officers yell to other police officers, is that we have a suspect. They then began treating people. Photographer Greg Melota says a total of 4 people were treated and 2 were given CPR. 2 were given CPR in front of him. So it all happened right here. It was very frightening, with hundreds of people running in all directions trying to get away from this situation.
All right, Neil, thank you. If you are just joining us right now, we want to kind of catch you up to speed to what has been a breathtaking morning and then ended with a resounding thud. So as soon as the parade or the celebration on the stage ended, people were starting to leave. And then that's when, as our Neil Jones reported, there were shots fired. Some people thought it sounded like fireworks, but it turns out it was shots fired. There have been reports of as many as 4 people who may have needed treatment. Police then immediately ran in and tried to clear the scene, told people to leave immediately. There are reports that 2 people were detained, 2 people who were armed who were detained, but an unbelievable end to what had been a spectacular championship parade now has been marred by a shooting in which at least 4 people may have been hurt and are now receiving treatment for their injuries.
Literally within seconds. The scene of a celebration wrapping up, very successful celebration that's been going on for several hours here, downtown Kansas City and on into Union Station, ending in a scene of sheer panic by people running away from that staging area. And people must have been told to go and shelter in place inside Union Station, because we did just get word that Kansas City, Missouri police have released all those people who were inside Union Station. Presumably, we're wondering now if that means the players and their families as well.
Right, exactly. We'll have to follow up on that. But as Neil Jones reported, it was sheer terror for those people who were around that and had witnessed it and heard the gunfire that some people thought was fireworks, but no, not at all. It turned out to be gunfire. As we continue to look at this very heavy police presence right now just outside of Union Station. All right, we want to get right back down there. Bill and Carolina continue to be there live. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, the amount of law enforcement and the response to this is just incredible. Just from my vantage point here on top of the West End at Crown Center, I can see that Grand is completely blocked off by, I mean, I'd say 24 police vehicles. A block over here to Main is completely blocked off with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, plus all of those charter buses that a lot of the chiefs and their families were going to go home on, we believe, are still there, completely blocking all that. And then further west down on Pershing, there's another 24 police fire vehicles over there, including 2 ambulances not too far from where Neil Jones is located. They do have the back doors open, so hopefully they're being able to treat whoever was injured by this shooting. But again, just an incredible amount of emergency response vehicles still out here on scene, with police tape going from there's the World Champions banner on the back of the stage that has all the sound gear on it, with going all the way over to the edge of the parking lot on the west side of the Union Station parking lot here in front of it. So just an incredibly awful event to happen after such an incredibly happy morning and afternoon.
And just to put it into perspective too, so we're seeing a lot of police presence, which is what we want to see right now after something like this goes down. But from the fountain at Union Station and into Union Station, there is no crowd, like no fans are there anymore. That's kind of where the scene was happening. And then there's just a few stragglers still out on the lawn. Obviously, we've still got at least a few ambulances out here. Police kind of scattered all throughout that area that I was talking about, from about the fountain to Union Station. And keep in mind, and as a reminder, the whole day we were talking about the fans and the families and the kids. Who are you going to want to see today? Patrick Mahomes. So that's the crowd that was here, was a lot of the families, a lot of the kids. And you can see right now live that we are having somebody taken out on a gurney into one of these ambulances too.
Yes, we have definitely
Guys,
clearly a victim on a stretcher here getting taken away in this ambulance now as well. We're not even sure how many victims we're talking about here. According to Neil Jones, he knows of at least 4 victims that they've seen treated, and this very well could be now a 5th added to that number.
And I can just tell you, Kansas City Police just tweeting this out moments ago. They're now saying multiple people were struck by gunfire.
Well, someone's being carried.
I'm seeing also on Twitter, I'm not going to report the number, but there are now reports of more than 4 people who were injured. So we cannot confirm that, but Kansas City Police now saying there are multiple people who were injured here. So this story keeps getting worse by the moment. Gunfire breaking out right at the end of the championship celebration, and now multiple people have been injured and are being treated.
Specifically, if you were watching this and if you know that area well, this is at the corner there of Kessler and Pershing. As you're looking at the stage, kind of on the southwest corner of that stage seems to be where the shots were fired. And as we've mentioned, only 35 yards or so away from where our Neil Jones was reporting on a joyous occasion. But clearly we're wrapping up Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade in a way that we sure never wanted to, now turning into a scene, a crime scene here that will need plenty of investigating, as it's going to take hours yet for them to figure out what exactly went down here.
Boy, that's right. I think a lot of people are just taking breathing a heavy breath here, a heavy sigh as we watch this unfold. Let's get back out to Shane and Jillian, who are there on the ground. Guys?
Yeah, guys, we're still seeing emergency services coming in. A couple of ambulances, a fire truck just came through here at Kessler and Pershing. And kind of echoing what Carolina was saying earlier, which is it's such a stark contrast between what we saw earlier today, where there were so many smiles, so many people being excited about the day, and just seeing people come out and seeing tears streaming down their faces because of what this event has done and changed the feeling of this day.
Certainly, frantic and chaotic is the best way to describe everything. At this point, as Carolina mentioned, there are not fans sitting and enjoying any type of situation here. Vendors are being asked to leave. We are being pushed back moment by moment as more emergency vehicles are arriving every moment. So we are impressed by the presence of the law enforcement presence here, which is comforting, but at a time that it is quite uncomforting to see faces of fans and children. Tough day here, tough ending to a day.
Absolutely heartbreaking. We had a chance to talk with a couple of people out here who were there when everything went down, and they had been out here since 9 p.m. yesterday, so obviously they were very close to the front and very excited to be here, but you could definitely tell the difference, obviously, in their tone, saying that they initially thought that people were just sort of pushing to get out quickly from the parade, and then immediately they sort of realized that things were not normal, and then heard those gunshots, which they thought were fireworks as well. So we're hearing a lot of the same thing from people, thought they were fireworks, and now that we know they were gunshots. But we're going to continue to gather more information out here, talk with folks, and find out what they saw and what they heard. But for right now, guys, we'll send it back to you.
Gee, this has just been an absolutely unbelievable afternoon. So, more news to bring you from Kansas City, Missouri Police. This is what they just tweeted out. They're saying, remember the child reunification stations in the area at 23rd and Main and inside the main entrance of Union Station. They go on to say, we still have several needing reunification, meaning there are kids who have been separated from their parents and don't know where their parents are. So it says, contact the officer nearest you for reunification information. They also just posted this. We request witnesses to the shooting to please go to the southwest corner of Pershing and Main. And Carolyn, more bad news, not been confirmed, but there are now reports coming out that there are children who were hurt and that there are multiple people who are injured. We don't have a number yet, but they're saying multiple.
We don't know the severity of injuries yet, but this is obviously very concerning. If you are watching us now here on KCTV5, we're going to bring you back up to speed here on what is happening now in Kansas City, Missouri, in the downtown area right there near Union Station. We're asking you at home, if you know someone who is at that parade, please please contact them, ask them to make sure they have their entire party and get away from the area as quickly as they can. If they witnessed anything, though, if you saw what happened, take your testimony over to the southwest corner of Pershing and Main. Police do want to hear from you. If you were witness to anything, that happened there, specifically on the southwest corner of the stage. The rally was just wrapping up. Dancing still happening on the stage at Kessler and Pershing when apparently shots were fired, potentially by more than one person. Reports telling us now that 2 people have been taken into custody.
And the Associated Press is now reporting that 8 to 10 people are now victims in this shooting. 8 to 10 people who are needing treatment. We just saw someone go by on a golf cart there that was needing medical attention. What has turned into such a celebration has now turned into devastation. And parents, I can't even imagine getting separated from your child when you hear shots fired and you see people go down, and then to lose sight of your child. This has turned into a day of horror for some Chiefs fans who all they wanted to do was celebrate the Chiefs championship parade and the Chiefs repeating as Super Bowl champions. And now the area outside of Union Station has turned into a massive crime scene.
Right, and we're still waiting on the numbers of how many people were down there in all for this parade and for the rally. But it had to be, I mean, close to 1 million people, we're guessing at this point, but it had to be well over 500,000 at the very least. Neil Jones was right amongst that crowd and not too far from where this happened. He's been our best eyewitness testimony so far as to what exactly transpired there in front of Union Station. Let's go back to Neil now with the latest on what is happening there and what everyone is being told, Neil.
Well, we just saw another person transported by medical personnel on a golf cart. No idea if they were a victim of the shooting or the trample that happened afterwards when people were trying to get away and people fell down. But at any rate, they just took a gentleman away on a golf cart with receiving medical attention. It did not look like he had been shot. The situation is very fluid. They continue to have ambulances here. Some have gotten filled with people and left, and others are staying here, but they're not leaving. Obviously a massive police presence, although there was a very big police presence all day long today as they sat around and stood around and answered questions if people needed it. And immediately they rushed toward the shooters. I couldn't see the shooters because of the wall of people that were coming at me. Again, I was about 35 yards away from when it happened, but police officers from all directions ran that way, and they ended up tackling a couple of people, it appears, but that's the way it looked to me. I didn't see it happen that way. I saw the aftermath of police officers, multiple police officers on people, subduing them, and then they were taken away. One looked like he received medical attention, and he was taken away. Whether they are suspects or not, I don't know. But in the aftermath of it, for probably 30 minutes, people have been walking around trying to find their families. I don't see any of those people now, but they were adults. I didn't see any children unattended or crying or anything like that. But people were walking around trying to use their phone. Obviously, the phone wasn't working because everybody was calling at the same moment. But I think people are able to reconnect because the phone service is back up. But there were people angry people coming over and yelling at our photographer. A guy tried to pull his camera off his shoulder, and when I went over and confronted him and said, "Hey, you don't need to do that," he shoved me down. Man came up and said, "Hey, we'll arrest him." And I said, "No, I'm not interested in that." But it was a very, very emotional situation for a number of people. And there are people over here now that are just so angry and frustrated that this happened, because everybody understands what this means. Forget what happened up on stage. Forget all of the fun and the great emotion, positive emotion. What's going to go out is going to be that it's a shooting, another shooting, and it's going to be perhaps, I hope not, but it's perhaps going to be a black eye for our community, because that's going to be the headline around the world. 700,000 people or whatever it was, and there was a shooting at the end of it. I don't know who was injured. All I can say is this: I'm glad it was not as bad as it could have been. I mean, this was a situation with all those people packed in, and it sounded like a string of fireworks going off. I don't know enough about guns to know if that's an automatic or a semi-automatic weapon, but a lot of bullets looked like they were fired, and as we saw, there were a number of people hurt.
So stay on that thought just for a moment, Neil. You said it sounded like a string of fireworks. If you were to, are you talking 10, 15, 20 shots? Something like that? Or
I think so, and my photographer's agreeing with me. I'd say it was like that, you know, a string of maybe 20 fireworks, and it went off over a period of a few seconds, and it happened right there. I was standing right here, and the gunfire happened on the other side of that red fire truck, and hundreds and hundreds of people came running at me, and it was crowded where I was, so they had nowhere to go. It was utter terror, and when you consider, and I keep going back to this, when you consider that you had so many families here with strollers and toddlers and 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, and you're trying to get them out, you hear that, you don't know if it's a gunfire, all you know is that it's bad and people were running, and now I'm told that there is another patient coming out of that area and is going to be brought to an ambulance. We'll see if that is the case, but they have not cleared the scene. There are still a lot of emergency people, emergency workers, and there you see somebody on that yellow drape on a gurney who's being wheeled over to an ambulance. So I can't, you know, I cover sports, I don't cover news, but I can tell you this was very, very frightening to me, and to anybody I think who has a family, it was a scary moment.
Well, anytime, Neil, where you're that close to gunfire, the aftermath can be deadly, and as you've mentioned, the air completely sucked out of the entire city of Kansas City as so many people were enjoying the celebration. And now Chiefs Kingdom thinking about one thing, and that's, are these 8 to 10 people going to be okay? Chiefs Kingdom now, the thoughts on the victims as this has turned into a celebration to just something unimaginable.
Unimaginable. As you can see here on your screen, you're watching one other person being taken away here in a stretcher in an ambulance. We are hearing from the Associated Press 8 to 10 people injured. We do caution that does not necessarily mean that those 8 to 10 people were shot necessarily. There was a mass exodus, so there could have been injuries along the way. As Neil mentioned, even being pushed aside, shoved out of the way. Injuries can happen. Of course, we have all ages out there at this rally, all abilities out there at this rally. So it may not have been easy for some to run quickly from that scene. So we do caution to remember that does not mean that 8 to 10 people were shot, but we do hear on good authority that at least a few people were indeed hit by bullets.
Yeah, and that's what's so frightening about what Neil just confirmed to us about what he heard, a string of gunshots.
So
let's get back
guys,
to
I am seeing FBI agents, I'm seeing ATF agents on the scene now. We are seeing other investigators come in along with Kansas City, Missouri police. So the police presence is growing by the moment.
Oh, no doubt about it, and they will need to throughout the entire afternoon. Again, keep in mind, if you were with others at this parade, or you know someone who is down there with a family, with young children, if they're having a hard time connecting with other ones, little ones who have run from that scene as well, remember that they planned in advance for reunification sites. The police do have those, and you're encouraged to talk to any officer you see to find one near you, and they will help you reunite with your family.
Yeah, Neil just said moments ago he wasn't sure if he hadn't seen any kids that seemed to be lost, but this is a vast area that we're talking about. And Kansas City Police did tweet out about 20 minutes ago that there were still several children who had been separated from their families. So the reunification stations have really, really become crucial and critical as heartbreak and terror have broken out just outside the steps of Union Station following what was a massive and fun celebration. Well, as Neil said, that's all over now. Now we're all in the mode of hoping that those who are hurt are going to be okay, and that they found everybody who had a gun, and that everyone's in custody that perpetrated this thing, because What a mark on Kansas City on what had been a fantastic morning.
Now, as you know, we've been covering the parade and the festivities since 4 o'clock this morning, and we had crews all along this scene, some of which were close enough nearby to witness some of, if not the actual shooting, at least the mass exodus out from the parade and rally site. And we have Grace Smith. She was at 17th and Grand earlier, monitoring the parade, having an enjoyable time. And now we're trying to get back in touch with Grace to see if she has noticed this, the crowds leaving the scene as well. Grace?
Yeah, Carolyn, we are on Grand Boulevard and East 16th Street. We were leaving the parade, trying to get back to the station, and all of a sudden, a policeman came to us saying, "Get over!" And all of a sudden, just about 100 police cars just zoomed by. And ever since then, we have been sitting here just watching this. And in that moment, I knew, I got that gut feeling like what just happened. Something bad has happened. You could just see it on the police officers' faces, on everyone's faces, and then all of a sudden, just a swarm of red. They weren't running. I think we're pretty further back, but no one was happy, obviously, just somber looks on their faces, many holding hands, just trying to wrap their heads around what they just witnessed at Union Station. But ever since then, we've just seen multiple police cars still going down to Union Station, coming back, multiple golf carts going to and from. And, you know, police are just still in this area talking with people. And just as you can see, fans are making their way back slowly at this point, just to wrap their heads around what a tragedy this really has been, guys.
That's what everyone is doing, Grace. You're right about that. Everyone's just trying to wrap their heads around this. This now making national news. All of the major networks now reporting on what has happened here in Kansas City, what has happened following a massive celebration. But you look at the police presence, and as we've mentioned throughout our parade coverage, there were 900 police officers who were part of this to help keep people safe. And it had been an absolutely wonderful celebration, and it appeared that everything had been okay until at the very end when that gunfire broke out and then mass chaos ensued.
And now we're going to go to our Scott Reese, who's walking through that area nearby Union Station. Scott, where are you? What did you see?
Okay. Yeah, Carolyn, I'm here at Pershing in Maine, the southeast corner, which is supposed to be the reunification spot. And right now we are being ushered a few feet away from all the commotion, where, as you can see, there's a whole host of police and bomb squad and other officials, and boy, as many ambulances as I can count right now within our vantage point. I believe we're heading over toward where Neil Jones is, so we'll try not to double up there. But yeah, there's still a lot of confusion, and there's still some spectators who, against the advice of multiple announcements over the public address system about a half hour ago, have not cleared the area, just trying to get a glimpse to see what's going on. But we are being ushered back again as they prepare to use this for the reunification spot. And we will keep you posted if we see anything else.
Okay.
Carolyn?
Thank you for keeping us in the loop. Scott, just show us anything else that you can that gives us some insight into what exactly is happening there. Moments ago, we just saw a couple standing out in the middle of the grounds there, just holding each other, sobbing, buckling in tears, not sure if they were affected in some way by the gunfire, but no doubt affected by the fear that came over that huge crowd there at Union Station for this joyous celebration, just starting to let out. Everyone was heading, quietly back to their cars when this sound came out that some thought sounded like fireworks potentially. It sounded very rapid, maybe 15 to 20 shots very quickly. Has been confirmed now by both Kansas City, Missouri Police and Kansas City Fire that it indeed was a shooting at this rally.
Yeah, FBI, ATF, and now just a massive investigation underway. We're hearing from some people who are in and around. James Palmer is a reporter for the NFL Network, He just tweeted saying, "We have been escorted away." He tweeted this about 40 minutes ago, but says, "We've been escorted away from Union Station after being told to get under the stage that we were on while hosting the parade." So giving you just a flavor of what people who were there right on the stage were told to shelter, not shelter in place, but to get underneath the stage, to get away from the gunfire that was erupting right there just outside of Union Station. And our Neil Jones was only about 35 yards away from that and said, as you mentioned, Carolyn, said it sounded like there was as many as 15 to 20 shots fired. We do know 2 people are in custody. I have seen someone who was taken away in handcuffs. We don't know anything about if they were injured. We don't know anything about how the police, the apprehension of these guys, how they were able to get them to stop shooting. And then again, it all now focuses on those as many as 10 people who were hurt in some way, shape, or form. Don't know if they were shot, but hurt in the aftermath of this. But again, the police presence huge. And the number of people, now up to 10 people hurt, it's mind-numbing.
Yeah, it really is. Again, happening, it seems, at the southwest corner of the stage. We're going to go back to Jillian and Shane. Guys, explain to us exactly where you were at the time.
Is she going to join?
It looks like they're talking
to
someone
someone
now.
We're down here. We're down here at Union Station, and we're talking with people all throughout this afternoon who were in the area and saw some of the stuff that we've been talking about. This is Krista. Krista, can you kind of explain to me what were you saying when everything went down?
Yeah, we were. If you were looking at the stage, we were to the right of the stage of the VIP area, and we saw some people start running, and we were like, okay, well, the police ran into the building, so we didn't worry because there's a lot of police running. And then someone said, oh, it was a fire, and then she comes running and she's like, no, it's shots fired. And so we started listening to her, and then that's when everybody started. Yeah, and
I was just telling everybody to get down, and then like get out the way, and the officers were coming around, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
So.
Chris, you were saying that you saw police actually swarming something.
So when I was leaving, and I don't remember if my other friends were still with me at the time because it kind of blurred.
It did.
But when we were heading west, trying to get back and away from it, we saw the police swarm a stairwell, and then we heard another pop from there. And that's when I was like, okay, we're gone.
Time to move. Similar situation?
Same, yes. I was on the probably to her right. Probably on her right side when everything was going on. And then so we kind of circled back, but then all of the people in FBI and police, they were all like, okay, everybody has to go that way towards Crown Center. And so everybody started going that way, and then everybody's trying to come back because everybody's parked over here. And now that's a crime scene, we can't get in the parking garage.
So everybody's here until it's cleared up.
And stuck.
Because your cars are still in there as well.
And that's where.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. You actually said you saw someone being led away in handcuffs.
We did see 2 police officers lead someone away in handcuffs. So I don't know if that was him or not. I just kind of went cuffs, turning in the other way because at that point I don't want to see anything else.
He was in a red jumpsuit.
Yes.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing that with us, guys. This is a similar kind of story that we're hearing from a lot of people down here. Fireworks, gunshots, didn't know what it was, but they knew that they wanted to get out of there in a hurry. We're going to keep checking with people down here, and we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Shane, thank you so much. Thank you, Jillian, as well. And thank you to those eyewitnesses for giving us some insight into what exactly transpired here this afternoon. Minutes before 2 o'clock, just as that rally was coming to an end, is when those sounds were heard. They said they heard the pop, pop, pop sound as well, like our Neil Jones reported, several of them very close in succession. The fear is now for these poor folks stranded down there wanting to leave, desperately wanting to leave the rally, wanting to leave this parade, but now their cars are in that Crown Center parking garage and they can't get into that parking garage to get their cars out. So they're stranded there to wait and see what else will happen here. Just as we see people running around this area, it just makes us even more nervous, but we are hoping at this point that what we have confirmed that 2 people have been taken into custody by police. Hopefully that is the entirety of the suspects at hand, and that at least there is no danger existing still this afternoon. Here coming up on 3 o'clock now, almost an hour after those shots were initially fired.
Well, you think about it, Carolyn, and this is, you're right. From everything we've been able to ascertain from what's happened right now, the 2 people who were presumably responsible for this have been apprehended, taken away, but it's the pure shock And it's traumatic what people just witnessed. They were near a very violent situation in which gunfire erupted right around just a huge crowded area of people that included a lot of families, a lot of kids. It is traumatic.
And actually, we're just getting confirmation now that Children's Mercy Hospital confirming they have received some patients. So that validates the earlier reports that indeed there were children involved here.
So sad.
The number of kids we do not know, but the number we are hearing from the Associated Press is between 8 and 10 people hurt. Cautioning once again, we don't know that that's 8 to 10 people shot. There was a mass scene leaving, mass scene running. We assume that some people may have kind of gotten, bumped along the way, potentially even crowd trampling scenes is what I envision. And so there may be injuries from that as well. We're not sure what is related to the shooting and what is not. Nonetheless, it is 10 people too many.
Yeah, and again, with that many people in such a small, confined area, the chaos of gunshots and then seeing people flee and hearing people scream, again, going back to the trauma of the people who were around there, as you were alluding to, or we had shown those two people who were hugging and just exasperated that they had somehow made it through this, but a lot of people just questioning why, what has happened. Here's more images of people being, look at, there's someone who's draped in a Chiefs blanket, a Chiefs fan who had come down to celebrate with friends and family, who's now being loaded onto an ambulance.
And again, this happening just as the rally was coming to an end. We were seeing the team, of course, on the stage, but prior to that, Governor Mike Parson had taken to the podium, thanking the Chiefs for a great season, and he has just sent out a tweet on X saying, quoting here, Governor and First Lady Parson, this is from his office, they were in attendance when shots were fired near Union Station in KC. They are safe and secure. State law enforcement personnel now assisting local authorities in response efforts. As we wait to learn more, our hearts go out to the victims.
Indeed. And then you just think about how many, again, families and kids who were so near there. All of the Kansas City Chiefs were on the stage.
At the time, dancing.
Coach Reed,
sure.
all of the, Mark Donovan, Andy Reid. So many people so close to that gunfire. Let's get back to Bill and Carolina now for their perspective.
Yeah, so guys, this is just such a sad scene. Obviously, we still have all of the trash out here from the parade, just remnants of what was supposed to be a really fun day for families who were out here. So we kind of want to show you what we can see from where we are, because this is a really good vantage point of the whole situation. We've got a lot of caution tape up already. And then we have, from what I can count, at least like 7 or 8 ambulances and more flashing lights in the backdrop. So right there to the left of Union Station, if you're looking at Union Station from the lawn, multiple ambulances, and then we kind of wind our way around, and we've got a couple more. We've seen at least one person at least wheeled into a stretcher into one of the ambulances that are kind of on this side of it, and then you've got 3 more ambulances a little bit further down, and then just the load of police vehicles and obviously police officers all around this Union Station area, kind of blocking off the perimeter to all of the any fans that remain here, which really aren't many at all.
Yeah, and we have seen that the buses that were carrying the team, they left here about 30 minutes ago or so, and they are now on their way back to Arrowhead. And we've also heard from some of the players who had tweeted, like Drew Tranquil, saying that he's praying for the victims, and several of the other...
Guys, something's going on. Guys. Guys.
Neil Jones, if you can hear us, we can hear you. What is happening?
Do we have Neil Jones? If we've got Neil Jones, let's go to Neil Jones.
Neil, first of all, be careful. There is clearly something else happening. We all of a sudden saw law enforcement running once again and people scurrying away from another area there that had been seemingly secure. And they are running, and they are, several of them, crying.
Yeah, there isn't, something else serious is happening.
Guys!
Okay,
yes,
go, Neil,
ahead,
go.
Neil.
Go,
ahead,
Neil.
Neil.
Neil, go. All right,
Neil, if you can hear us, go ahead. We hear you.
All right, stay with us here on KCTV5 as we continue to watch what has been an unbelievable day. As many as 8 to 10 people shot outside of the championship celebration. We thought everything appeared to be under control. Now there appears to be another chaotic situation. We're trying to get back in contact with KCTV5's Neil Jones, who's been on the spot this entire time. He was... Okay, all right, hold on here. All right, so let's explain what just happened, folks. We want to apologize for that. What we were watching along with you was a recording of what happened shortly after.
Oh, thank goodness.
Shortly after the shooting happened. So we want to clarify, there has not been an additional shooting. There has not been an additional chaotic situation. We aired in airing video that Neil was recording when the initial shooting happened.
But that shows you
the chaos
that happened at the moment that rally was wrapping up. Neil Jones right down there, right by the stage, and it was just a few minutes before 2 o'clock this afternoon as the rally was ending that the chaos broke out, and Neil Jones was trying to get to us to tell us that something is definitely wrong. That happened more than an hour ago.
Whoever's in the booth.
What you are seeing here now is live still, as the giant police presence still has descended along Grand, along Main Street downtown, and around Pershing there around Union Station.
Running again, and we saw police officers and FBI running west on Pershing toward another situation.
All right, that's Jillian, if you can hear us, go ahead and tell us what you're seeing from your vantage point and what's happening around you.
Guys, moments ago, Shane and I were on Pershing walking west, and we saw multiple law enforcement officers running westbound on Pershing. We did not hear sounds, and I'm going to go over to Brad and Carolina for the rest of that report. Bill and Carolina,
guys, we've got guns drawn. Yeah, we've got guns drawn.
There's guns drawn by several police officers and what looks to be SWAT officers with long guns behind a police cruiser on the west side of the Weston parking lot. A couple of other police cruisers are starting to move in, but again, just in the last few moments, over 24 probably police officers came in. Again, long guns, also sidearms drawn towards what looked to be, I can't see because the carport goes over where it kind of obstructs our view, but again, a lot of attention being paid over to just in front of the Weston Crown Center parking lot, just off of Pershing here to the southeast of Union Station. And again, we can see several police.
Oh, we're just now losing contact somehow with Bill and Carolina. Can you guys still hear us? Oh, we lost their audio signal anyway, but you can see even just from looking at this scene how widespread this potential crime scene will be or already is as they're drawing around the crime tape. This is going to take a while to figure out exactly who was where when.
Right, and to say that this is a chaotic situation doesn't even begin to describe what's happening here. It's mass chaos. So many people who tried to get out of a relatively small area, thousands and thousands of people, multiple gunshots, and there is so much going on right now that we're trying to stay on top of this for you and report this as accurately as we can. Bill and Carolina, before we lost their audio, were saying that they had seen officers with guns drawn.
And that's what you're seeing here out in front of the Weston here.
We don't know why, but to Carolyn's point, that's what you're looking at right now. You can see officers who have gathered out there near Union Station. Okay, we have Jillian and Shane now back. Guys, if you can hear me, anything that you're seeing from your location?
Yeah, Brad, as mentioned, we are on Pershing and Broadway, so west of Union Station, the opposite direction of Crown Center. So we saw police officers running west toward another situation. We did not hear any sounds, but we saw multiple law enforcement officers running west on Broadway on Pershing toward Broadway.
Yes, and they were definitely in a hurry, and it looks like they're actually cordoning this area off from us as well right now. We do see police vehicles in the distance. I don't know if you can see our shot right now, but they were running that direction, which I believe is a different area than what Bill and Carolina were describing.
Okay, and thank you, and break in at any moment if anything happens from your vantage point. Just go ahead and take it away from us. Greg Daly of KCTV5 News has just reported that he says our KCTV5 crews at Crown Center are now being told to leave the area. He says, please be safe if you or someone you know is nearby. So we continue to hear reports about police activating and moving to different locations in this area. We'll continue to stay on air with you and for you to report to you what has happened after the Chiefs Championship Parade. Here we see another ambulance either departing or arriving to the area. But an unreal situation today, and it goes to show you this is why city officials, this is why county officials gather and spend so much time planning these parades to try and consider every possible scenario, every worst possible scenario. And that's why they had up to 900 officers on site there to try and keep people safe.
Yeah, and we are getting confirmation now. As I mentioned, Children's Mercy Hospital has confirmed that they have received some patients. The number is not determined, but University Health also confirming that they have got patients as well. We're going to go to Janae Hancock now. Janae, where are you?
Yeah, we just received update from Westin Hotel. Apparently, we are all sheltering in place right now. What you're taking a look at right now is the Kansas City Police Department. They have their guns drawn, and it looks like they are waiting for someone to leave the parking garage. And they're actually on both sides of the parking garage. A lot of police officers were running in this direction that you're looking at right now, and that's why we kind of moved towards this area. So we're waiting to see who they are waiting for. We also see a lot of the ambulance making their way to this area as well. We've seen several people on stretchers also. So right now we are just waiting for more details, but that is the latest information coming in that Westin Hotel is officially sheltering in place. No one can leave as we wait for more details from the Kansas City Police Department as to why they have their guns drawn. Not sure if anyone, maybe a shooter, the shooter is inside of the hotel, or if they know of anyone else that is inside of the hotel as well. So we are just waiting for more details. But as I continue to look around towards Union Station, Matt, if we can kind of pan towards this area, still taking a look at that tragic scene. So again, this area was filled with so many fans and families that were excited to be here. And just an hour ago, maybe not even under an hour. And as you can see here, people left their belongings just sitting on the ground. You can see a tent that looks like a child's tent. Matt, I don't know if you can kind of zoom into that, but they just left their belongings sitting here as a lot of people scattered as those gunshots rang out. And Scott Reese and I were kind of standing to the side of this patio earlier, and we heard those gunshots ring out earlier. And I do want to, Matt, if we can kind of pan over, you can see more ambulance coming in from this side of the Westin Hotel. Again, it looks like they might be making their way to this area where the Kansas City Police Department, they still have their guns drawn out, could be waiting for someone to come out of this parking garage. So again, just a tragic scene that we are seeing here, guys. People are slowly starting to make their way back to this area. Here's another car that is coming out of this parking garage as well. So it looks like they are letting people leave. Let's see if they'll let this guy get out.
Okay, that's Janae Hancock reporting for us live on scene.
So again, we are still waiting for more details to come in. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Carolyn and Brad in studio.
Yeah, Janae was waiting there to see if indeed cars are able to leave that Westin Crown Center parking garage. It looks like at least a couple have been able to, but we are being told now that The point of concern has kind of moved now away from Union Station and is now more towards the Crown Center area around the West End. Folks very concerned that there is something else still brewing in that area.
This is still a very, very chaotic, potentially dangerous situation. This is still a very, very fluid situation down around Union Station, the Crown Center area, that whole area. As you can see, police are on high alert right now. This is not, they're not taking the attitude that this is all clear and let's just go ahead and relax. We have seen a lot of movement with police just within the last few minutes. So still a very, very serious situation in downtown Kansas City. People have been told, those who are on the grounds told to evacuate, but people inside the West End have been told to shelter in place. And we want to remind you that the people who were originally thought to have taken part or been part of the shooting that happened earlier, that was more than a half hour ago. And 2 people were taken into custody. So clearly there is something happening that police are still on high alert. They are keeping some people in some buildings and have been told to shelter in place. That's why we're still on the air, and that's why our crews are still on the ground, and we're continuing to report what is happening here. But still a very, very serious situation happening in downtown Kansas City right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, all of this happening after the celebration for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes just tweeting out, praying for KC. Obviously not the ending that they were hoping for coming out of what should have been a successful, wonderful celebratory day in Kansas City. Apparently, Mayor Lucas is back now on the scene. He was there for the rally. And the Chief of Police, Stacey Graves, apparently will talk to us, talk to the media, talk to you at home here on KCTV5. Just keep it right here. And as soon as they give us a rundown of what is happening, we'll, of course, bring it to you right here live.
KCTV5, Samantha Boring is live on the ground in that area. Samantha?
Hey, Brad, Carolyn, we're here at Pershing in Broadway on this side of Union Station. As you see, police and other officers have this area blocked off.
Samantha, unfortunately, we can't hear you when the camera pans off of you, so hang on 1 minute. Samantha, if we can get you back in frame of the camera. We can only hear you when you're looking right into the camera, if you could, to tell us what is happening near you. Oh, no, we have oh, there you go. Can you repeat what you just said? We missed the first part.
Yes, Carolyn, Brad, when we were first getting here, we saw some sheriff's deputies who had some large guns, and they were heading into this building back here towards Crown Center. We weren't told of anything, but it was headed that way, and it seems as if officers are still on high alert over here. We were talking to some people who were nearby when they heard the shots fired. They said they thought it was fireworks going off for the parade. Many of them sharing emotions of being extremely scared and worried about the situation. We saw tons and tons of people walking, and the traffic is still extremely heavy here at Union Station, getting in or out.
Samantha,
Brad,
are you hearing from people trying to leave? Are they nervous, or how are people reacting to this where you are?
I saw a woman in a car crying on our way here, and they were right there, they said, and we saw some younger kids who were over here, and they were talking about, you know, they were just walking by when they heard it all go off. Some people said that they were sitting on the hill when they heard these shots fired. A lot of them just describing it as a scary moment, just especially because this was supposed to be a day of excitement.
All right, we've lost Samantha Boring right now as she was describing the scene there. Our Scott Reese is also on the ground. Scott, if you can hear me, what are you seeing, and where are you specifically?
Hey, Brad, I think I lost you here. Hopefully you can hear me, but we're near the corner of Pershing and Main, and you can see the commotion behind me in terms of the police and official vehicles. I count 7 ambulances and I don't know how many police cars, lights blaring. We are across the street. You can see actually our crews still on the rooftop overlooking the scene from the Crown Plaza, which of course is where we were broadcasting during the parade and the rally. So apparently they have been asked to shelter in place up there. We have tried to get closer, and we will continue to do so again. Every time we get too close to the street corner here, we are brushed away and asked to stay back by authorities. So I haven't seen anything new from this vantage point, but if I do, I will certainly keep you posted. Brad?
All right, Scott, thank you. We appreciate that. So you just heard from Scott that people are being told to shelter in place in some buildings around there that are near Union Station. So clearly, we're waiting for word of the elevated attention, the elevated concern that police officers have right now. The scene still very active. This is still an active crime scene right now. As Scott was just mentioning, there's a number of ambulances that are still in the area. The police presence is massive here right now. And then you see in the live shot, you can see people who were at the parade celebration wondering, where to go? Where's my car? We've heard police saying that there is one reunification station that remains open. We had 7 to begin with. There's one that remains open. So if you've heard of anyone who became separated from their families, they are to go to the reunification station at Union Station. That is the one that remains open. But an unbelievable day here in Kansas City to celebrate what had been such a glorious morning, now marred by a tragic shooting.
I do want to sort of kind of recap what exactly you're looking at here. If you're just now joining us here on KCTV5, and I'm doing this because our traffic anchor, Julia Avery, was with us earlier talking about parade traffic and so forth. She was done here and said, you know what, I'm going to head on down and at least watch the tail end of this rally. She was on one side of Union Station, left there, walked out, found her car. She said she knew of nothing going on. So there is a distinct possibility that you're arriving back home now unaware that anything had happened after the rally was over, because it happened on sort of that southwest side of the stage. So if you were heading back up Grand or back up Main, you might have not even realized there was a problem, because it was only a certain side that heard what turns out to be now gunfire erupt on one end, and then the mass exodus on the one side. So if you are just now joining us, that is indeed what happened. 2 people we had heard reportedly taken into custody by police, and now a large police presence there after at least 8 to 10 people have been hurt by either gunfire or the result of the mass exodus from the gunfire, one way or the other. And now we are kind of shifting our attention to another area right there on the catty corner, the Western Crown Center there. There seems to be another source of concern at the Western Crown Center.
Okay, and we do have breaking news about what's happening right there. Our Janae Hancock is there. Janae?
Yeah, guys, I do want to draw your attention to just outside of the Westin Hotel. Earlier, just a few minutes ago, we saw a lot of police officers kind of drawing their guns out, looking like they were waiting for someone to come out of the parking garage. Well, we just learned that someone has been apprehended inside of that parking garage. Now, if it's a man or a woman, we don't have those details just yet. But what I can tell you is that the scene is now clear here at the Westin Hotel. We just received that information just a few moments ago. Now, Matt, I do want to turn things over back to these hotel room windows where you can see a lot more Chiefs fans have come to their windows waiting for more answers. They probably have their televisions on inside of their rooms, waiting for more answers, waiting for more details. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of them were outside, anxiously waiting to come outside of their hotel rooms earlier this morning. And now they are back in there, fearful and looking for more answers as of right now. One man even has a set of binoculars that he is looking with to see exactly what the scene looks like outside of Union Station, where we just saw thousands of fans here earlier today. So again, we are seeing some families. There was a little girl just waving at us, and again, a lot of people are just waiting for more answers right now. But that's what we can tell you, is that someone was just apprehended inside of this parking garage. But just a terrifying and heartbreaking scene. Again, I want to draw your attention back to the outside of Union Station, where you can see there are a lot of belongings that are still left outside. A lot of people that are still actually standing outside of Union Station as well. But you see paper, you see pom-poms that are on the ground, you see a tent, you see all types of belongings as people were cheering on the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce not too long ago, and the scene has completely changed just within the last few hours. So just a tragic scene out here. We are waiting to learn more details, but that is the good news, is that these people can leave their hotel rooms now that the scene has been cleared here at the Westin Hotel. So another person is in custody. So that's some good news that is coming out of this situation. But for right now, Brad and Carolyn, I'm going to toss it back to you guys in studio.
Yes, thank you so much for that report. There had been so many questions about that, Janae, about what was happening inside there. So yeah, we can tell you, as to Janae's reporting, someone has been apprehended. People who had been told to stay and shelter inside of the Westin have now been told that they can leave. So to what Janae just said, finally a bit of good news.
And the bad news is that we are hearing of up to 10 victims. Severity of injuries has not been confirmed just yet, but we are hearing from our sources with University Health, which is formerly Truman Medical Center, Children's Mercy Hospital, and St. Luke's, that they have all received patients. Again, conditions of which we are not confirming just yet. We do also have KCTV5's Nathan Brennan out at Pershing and West Penway. Nathan, what did you witness? I know you were initially along the parade route in the thick of things.
Well, I tell you what, Carolyn, we actually weren't at the situation when it happened. We'd actually pulled out and we were heading back towards the station when this incident went down. But I want to go ahead and give you a look. So right now we're at the intersection of Pershing and West Penway. And as you guys can see, this is part of what makes this situation so dangerous. Still so much traffic, so much congestion, people unable to get out of the area. And we actually just spoke with a family from St. Joe. They were traveling from St. Joe, and they were waiting for all of this traffic to clear out. And they were right in the middle of this. We actually spoke with a grandfather and a grandson who are about 100 feet from the situation, and the grandfather was describing the scene and just saying that he was just hearing pop, 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 hearing those gunshots, grabbing his grandson and just running frantically. And that was the situation that he was describing. I mean, he was just talking about how chaotic the situation was and just everyone just running frantically and cops turning people other ways in different directions. So a very scary situation. Again, you're getting another look here towards Union Station. As you can still see, so many people, so many cars still trying to pull out of this area, which is making this so dangerous. So again, people trying to leave this area. Speaking to some of these families, we actually asked them, they said they didn't want to go on air because they're so shaken up from this situation. So we have families that are traveling from far away that aren't even here in Kansas City, just trying to get home, trying to return to their loved ones as well. But we'll give you more updates again as we start to gather them. We'll toss it back to you guys.
Nathan, thank you so much. Be safe out there, and we just want everyone to get home as quickly as possible from this very, very scary scene. Still, they're all around the entire area of Union Station and to on over to Crown Center and on up really the parade route too. It's time to get everyone out of downtown. We're going to go to Gianni Navarro now for the latest on what you are seeing from where are you right now, Gianni? Right near the corner where it happened, right?
Yeah, Carolyn, unfortunately, near where it happened, I'm on Pershing Road and Kessler Road. We are behind police tape and where all the media is being set up right now. Now, before this, I was actually on the opposite side, but right now you can see a heavy police presence. There is EMS on scene, paramedics, fire here on scene right now. But I was actually on the opposite side on Grand Boulevard because I was covering the parade originally, and I actually made my way over here. While I was making my way over here, I was was told I was unsafe. So I made sure that I was in a safe location and I was able to find that. But in the meantime, before I got here, I was talking to a few families and I was asking them what they experienced. And, you know, some say they heard the pops and the shots, and some others say they didn't, but they just saw everyone running and it was chaotic. So they just started to follow the crowd and run as well. I spoke to one father and son who said they were just trying to get by Union Station. All of a sudden, they told everyone to shelter, lock the doors, and they were locked into Union Station for a bit before they were released. So, but the main theme here is everyone is kind of somber and upset because today was supposed to be a day about celebration, celebrating our Chiefs and their back-to-back victory, and all of a sudden something like this happened. So everyone says they are saddened by what is happening here, but of course everyone I spoke to was safe. This is definitely a tragic event. But I will definitely let you know any more details as soon as I get them, you guys. Carolyn, back to you for now.
All right, thank you, Gianni.
All right, and we should tell you that we're going to get to Scott in just a second, but Kansas City, Missouri Police will be holding a news conference with Mayor Quentin Lucas in just a few minutes. All right, now we can get back. Sorry about that, Scott. Take it away.
All right, Brad, just a couple of quick updates here. I'm still just across the street from the Crown Plaza and probably 30 yards or so from the reunification point here at Main and Pershing, and everything looks quiet there, and I can confirm it is quiet. I talked to one of the officers, and he said that all families have been reunified, so there's nobody outstanding in terms of family members unaccounted for or anything like that, so that's some good news. I also asked about the incident in terms of apprehending a suspect inside the parking lot here at the Crown Plaza, and he said to me that was a separate thing. So he wouldn't elaborate on exactly what that was as opposed to what might have been going on at Union Station earlier, but apparently we may have multiple incidents here going on simultaneously, guys.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, Scott. You're right. It's apparently an incident separate from the shooting in front of Union Station, but nevertheless, people are absolutely terrified down in that area. Parade goers who were there, not sure what to think, told to evacuate, and then all of a sudden those who were trying to evacuate, some of them were told to shelter in place again. So it has been a harrowing afternoon, and the reports that are coming out, multiple people hurt, 8 to 10 people hurt, some victims at Children's Mercy Hospital. Mind-numbing to think about that this day started as a celebration of our team that just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was what the day was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a celebratory party for Kansas City, and now no doubt a panic scene and a crime scene that will last for a few more hours at least as they investigate what exactly transpired here, and no doubt will put a black eye on what was to be a bright spot on Kansas City's history.
Well, this is making national, international news right now. This is what's being reported on, not just in Kansas City, but all of the major news outlets around the country now looking at Kansas City, checking out what is happening. And you're right, this is not it's not a good look for this city, especially when the city was it encouraged people to gather and to party as one, to celebrate their Kansas City Chiefs, and it's anything but a celebration now.
By all accounts, was a fabulous day up until just about 2 o'clock. We are now getting towards 3:30, and we understand that Mayor Quentin Lucas, who had been up on that stage celebrating our winning team, will join the police chief of Kansas City, Missouri, here with a news conference, and we will bring that to you just as soon as they get started talking here, because we are anxious to, this is such a wide scene here, and it has been hard to kind of gather bits and pieces from each corner. And so we are hoping that Chief Stacey Graves can kind of bring it all together for us and kind of at least surmise what has happened and assure us that indeed the scene is safe now.
Well, and that's what, for our viewers at home, as you're watching, I mean, you can tell that there's still crime tape up. There are still such a heavy police presence. We had a shooting incident right after the parade, and then anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes after that, there was another incident across the way inside a hotel where then guests were told to shelter because there was an incident. We're not sure exactly what happened there, but again, we've seen there are still many ambulances on the scene. We have seen officers with guns drawn as of just 20 minutes ago. The scene has calmed down since then, but a massive police presence in downtown Kansas City right now. And so a lot of people just kind of shaking their heads saying, what more? What else is going to happen? This has been an unbelievable day.
And they are asking still that everyone, if you know of someone down there, this is not a time to sit and watch and try to see what's happened. It is a time to get on home as safely and quickly as you can. They're also asking that everybody in the Union Station parking garage move out, do not come in there. They need all of that space for all of these emergency vehicles to tend to these potential victims or anyone left there at the scene that they need to deal with. So they're asking basically everyone to move out as quickly but as safely as possible so that they can get a better handle on the expansiveness of this crime scene. It is a big one, but the corner of Union Station that you were just seeing there is where allegedly those initial shots were fired, the ones of great concern that led to the injuries that we're talking of here, between 8 and 10 people injured. Conditions are not confirmed yet. We are hearing unconfirmed conditions on some of these people, but we're waiting to get full confirmation before we bring that to you. But we are hearing that area hospitals, University Health, Children's Mercy, and St. Luke's all have received patients. So it is.
And we're hoping the best for them, for sure.
No doubt
all right,
about it.
Arneal Jones he was very close to the shooting situation when it all went down. We want to check back in with Neil for more reporting. Neil?
Well, this is the spot I was at, actually a little closer in the intersection. We were preparing to go forward and do interviews with fans at the end of the event on stage. It ended. People started walking out. Photographer Greg Malota and I started walking into the intersection, and all of a sudden, like a stream of firecrackers going off, pop, 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 pop. And people began to run in any direction. This is some video that Greg shot at that moment, and I think it captures the fear in the moms, dads, grandparents' faces as they had young children. They were trying to get their older parents and grandparents out. You had whole families here that had been here all day celebrating a wonderful thing, and suddenly you've got the police rushing in and going in multiple directions because it looked like that there were people fleeing. I don't know if that was true or not. Someone yelled, "There's the shooter," and the police went running off in that direction. I have no idea if that was correct or not. But a bunch of police went one way, police spread out and began to look at the various people who had been shot, but the crowd was going in all directions, just as you would expect they would do in such a harrowing, horrible moment. Again, what makes it so terrible is there were so many families involved, and you're just trying to get out. Our photographer saw at least 2 people who they were performing CPR on the ground. They also appeared to subdue someone. I heard somebody, and I do not know if it was a police officer, say that man is a suspect. And there were 3 or 4 police officers on him. They got him subdued and took him off in a golf cart. They took one victim off immediately on what looked to be a fire department or a police golf cart that was for situations like this. And then they took them to ambulances that were nearby. The presence here by the police and law enforcement was big all day long, as you would expect when you have a massive crowd in one place. So there were many, many police officers immediately on the scene. Again, you know, you're afraid. You don't know what direction to run. I didn't know. Our photographer, we didn't know which direction to go because we didn't know if there were multiple gunmen or what direction they were going. But eventually, and I don't know if it was 7 or 10 minutes, things began to calm down, but then police officers would race off. They'd be called on a radio and they would go a different direction. I suppose that might have been towards Crown Center to the east. But the end result was just an awful, awful scene at the end of what had been such a joyous, joyous day. And now, of course, we know that there are multiple victims. We can only hope that they'll be okay.
Boy, you're right about that, Neil. We want to thank you. And on social media, there is video now that is out there that appears to show fans who were at the parade, fans who are chasing a person down, then tackling that person, holding on to them, and then you see police swoop in and they get down and hold that guy down. Now, we don't know, I don't know what that is in reference to, but the person who posted that said that, you know, fans caught one of the suspects. Wow. That hasn't been confirmed, but the video is there, is that they did tackle someone who appeared to be running away from a big crowd, and then Kansas City, Missouri police just jump on this guy and handcuff him. So here's what we want to do. Thank you for staying with us on what has been, what was a joyous, a triumphant day, and now has turned into a day of tragedy. Shortly after the Kansas City Chiefs had just wound up their championship
they were
celebration
just
on
singing
stage.
and dancing on stage.
They had just wrapped up. The fans who were there, hundreds of thousands of fans who were there, had just started to begin to leave to when, as our Neil Jones reported, he was 35 yards away from the scene. He thought he heard a string of firecrackers, and then someone else said, no, that's gunshots. Mm-hmm. And he thought he heard anywhere from 15 to 20 gunshots, and then he saw people on the ground, he saw people running, he saw families screaming, kids crying, and then saw immediately first responders then who were performing CPR on at least 2 victims. Ambulances then rushed in. This then turned into a massive crime scene, and then to try and find whoever it was that fired the shots. 2 people have been apprehended. As many as 8 to 10 people have been shot. The victims have been taken to multiple hospitals, including Children's Mercy Hospital. So your heart just sinks when you hear that, because the last thing we want to hear is about young fans. So many children we had seen in this crowd watching their heroes, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and to think that there is a young fan out there who is now being treated for possible wounds because of this, it's mind-numbing.
Yeah, such a sour way to end such a celebratory day. We did talk to people just as they were trying to evacuate quickly. Here's what they had to say.
I was inside Union Station, taking a pic right at the entry doors, taking a picture with a couple of the players, and then I just saw everybody start running. I didn't really, when you see a crowd running, you don't really ask questions. You just start running with them, and then as I was running, I heard a couple shots, and then kind of knew obviously it was serious, so just kept on running, and then we ran downstairs, ran probably 3 stories into the basement or so, into this room, and then they just sheltered us in place, and then we were down there probably, I have no concept of time, probably 30 minutes, an hour, and then someone came down and told us what was going on, told us that we're okay, but we can't leave just yet because everybody was flooding the streets, so the buses couldn't leave yet. And so we all just kind of sat there and waited until we finally got the okay to get going.
So that was the initial pops that you were talking about that led to the apprehension of potentially 2 shooters involved. But then there was a secondary situation that emerged just catty-corner to Union Station over at Weston Crown Center, where there was some sort of disturbance there, and they were also asking everyone in the Weston then to shelter in place. That has since been cleared. Apparently completely unrelated issue, but very clearly a scary situation for everyone. The almost probably 1 million people converging on downtown for this victory celebration, and to try to get all of those people out of downtown quickly, not an easy task.
Utter chaos. Absolute utter chaos, and you could see it on people's faces. You could hear it in their voices. We've seen fans who were hugging, embracing, and crying after this, just glad that they had made it out of this thing unscathed. Now, we are waiting for Mayor Quentin Lucas and Kansas City, Missouri Police Chief Stacey Graves, who are going to be holding a news conference here momentarily to try and explain, to try and walk us through what has happened. So we are waiting for that to happen. They are staging that area right now. We have several crews obviously on the scene right now, so we will be bringing that to you just as soon as it happens. But we're just like you watching. We're waiting for answers like you are, and reporting on something like this so chaotic, so many different moving pieces. It's been, and the other thing about this, Carolyn, is how this happened. To go from something that was the culmination of such a joyous morning to then all of a sudden people are saying, wait a minute, is that fireworks or gunfire. And that was happening not all that far away from the stage where so many people were, and hundreds of thousands of people in that area.
Well, absolutely. Not to mention the players on the stage, the dignitaries on the stage. We're hearing now, we had heard from Missouri Governor Mike Parson. He, of course, took to the podium there momentarily to congratulate the Chiefs. He has since reported that he is okay. We've also now learned that Kansas Governor Laura Kelly was in attendance as well. She was told to evacuate, and she has now reported back that she is safely out of harm's way at this point. But many people around there, right in that area of the stage when this initially occurred. Again, just seconds before 2 o'clock hit is when that gunfire was reported, and we have since learned 8 to 10 people have been hurt in some way in this shooting. That does not mean that they were all shot, but 8 to 10 people injured in some way during this disturbance. And sadly, we are hearing that some of the patients were taken to Children's Mercy, which confirms our biggest fear that there were children involved. But there were also patients taken to University Health, formerly Truman Medical Center, and St. Luke's Hospital as well.
All right, our Shane Kinnicky was talking with a couple of people who saw what happened and heard this.
So when I was leaving, and I don't remember if my other friends were still with me at the time because it kind of blurred.
It did.
But when we were heading west, trying to get back and away from it, we saw the police swarm a stairwell, and then we heard another pop from there, and that's when I was like, okay, we're gone.
Time to move. Similar situation.
Same. Yes, I was on the probably to her right. Probably on her right side when everything was going on. And then so we kind of circled back, but then all of the people in FBI and police, they were all like, okay, everybody has to go that way towards Crown Center. And so everybody started going that way, and then everybody's trying to come back because everybody's parked over here. And now that's a crime scene, we can't get in the parking garage. So everybody's
here until
here
it's cleared up
and stuck.
Because your cars are still in there.
And as we've mentioned, we had crews for the parade and for that rally stationed all down Grand, basically from the City Market on down to Union Station. Along the way, we had Nyjah Hood along the parade route as well. Nyjah, what are you seeing at this point, and what did you hear at any point along the way?
Well, guys, it's really, it was a celebratory day turned tragic. We just spoke to multiple witnesses who were there at Union Station as the events unfolded. I just spoke to a family of about 5 or 6 people, one of whom was pregnant, and they are understandably very shaken. One of them was inside Union Station when the incident took place and steps away from the shooter. They told us that they were actually in the room right next to where the shooter was. They were told that the shooter was in the bathroom. They were locked up in the room next door trying to seek shelter, and the first thing they remember was people running and then chaos. They and other witnesses say that they were told by police to hop over a barricade and get away from the scene. I spoke to another witness who actually was inside of the nearby apartment complex, and she says she heard multiple gunshots, and she is traumatized because she actually saw the deceased bodies on the street. And so understandably, she was very emotional. It was hard for her to even speak to us, but just a lot of tragedy happening here outside of Union Station on what was supposed to be a very positive and happy day. And so truly a sad story. We are on the scene working to get you the latest information. We will continue to update you as we receive new information. Outside of Union Station, Nyjah Hood, KCTV5.
All right, Nyjah, thank you. And you're right about that. A truly tragic day, and we are learning of some news that we hoped we wouldn't have to report to you.
Yeah, we are hearing now one person is confirmed dead now, 14 in all hurt in this shooting after the parade, including 3 patients in critical condition, 5 in serious condition are the latest reports we're getting. Again, 1 fatality reported now from the scene outside of Union Station just after the Chiefs Victory Parade rally, and 14 injured in all. We were initially hearing 8 to 10.
All right, Mayor Quentin Lucas is talking. Let's listen in.
Unfortunately, we're not hearing audio yet. We're going to keep attempting to hear the very latest from the mayor. He's also to be joined by the police chief, Stacey Graves.
everyone in Kansas City looking to have a celebration. That celebration was marred by a shooting today. And we recognize that there are some who are injured. We are praying for the safety of everyone. I've talked to a few different folks so far. One, we have spoken to the Kansas City Chiefs, who made clear that their prayers are with everyone who was at the parade today, everyone in Kansas City, and everyone who was touched by this incident. They also noted that their players, coaches, and staff are all accounted for at this point and safe. We, however, note that this is a fluid situation, so all that we are sharing now may change as the hours go ahead. We've also received a call from the White House that offered all federal assistance in the investigation. We had federal agencies present today. We appreciate that, and certainly in the days ahead and the hours ahead, we will make sure we continue to do this work. I will say personally, first, a thank you to the women and men of law enforcement, to the women and men who work with the Kansas City Fire Department and our other agencies. When the shooting started, I, like many others, ran for safety. I saw a number of agencies, including the Kansas City Police Department, officers with guns drawn who were running towards danger. We thank them for that. As I was leaving the scene, I saw members of our Kansas City Fire Department administering aid to folks who were seriously injured without concern for the shootings and the challenges that were near them. This is absolutely a tragedy, the likes of which we would have never expected in Kansas City, and the likes of which we will remember for some time. However, I want to say thank you to those who are making sure that we are safe today, those who are investigating this incident, and those who will continue to make sure that those who committed these acts today are brought to justice. We'll come back for some questions at the end of the Chief's comments, but now the Police Chief, Stacey Graves.
Chief Stacey Graves, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. At the conclusion of the Chiefs rally today, there were shots fired on the west side of Union Station. Immediately, officers responded to the area, took 2 people into custody, and also immediately rendered life-sustaining aid to those victims. We're still gathering information on the number and the status of victims, but like I said, we know that one of the victims is deceased. We also know that officers ran towards danger. Officers were there to keep everyone safe. I'm angry at what happened today. The people who came to this celebration should expect a safe environment. We had over 800 law enforcement officers, Kansas City and other agencies, at the location to keep everyone safe. Because of bad actors, which were very few, this tragedy occurred, even in the presence of uniformed law enforcement officers, who again ran towards them and took them into custody. To the people who were injured in this tragedy, our hearts go out to you and your families. This investigation is just beginning, and we are working safely to clear all surrounding areas and businesses. This is still an active investigation. We will continue to keep you updated. We will keep you updated on Twitter and most likely a follow-up press availability. Did you have anything? No. One of our victims has been declared deceased. We have right now we have up to 10 to 15 injured by yes. Right now we do not have an exact number of people who were victims of a gunshot wound. It could be upwards from 10 to 15 with one deceased.
So how many are in critical condition at this point?
I do not have conditions on our victims just yet.
Any believed to be children?
I do not believe that any of them were children.
Any law enforcement injured in this? First responders?
Nothing of note.
Chief, what prompted? What do you guys believe now prompted the shooting?
That is still under investigation. I myself was outside when I heard the shots fired. It is an ongoing investigation. It's going to take us a little bit to determine exactly what led up to the shooting. I will say, though, we do have 2 suspects in custody.
Other question for you.
Waiting on social media that some I have heard that as well. I have heard that fans got involved in the apprehension or the pursuit of one of the suspects. I cannot confirm that right now, but that is something that I have heard myself. Yes.
Talk about when this started, sort of a timeline from there to the point where your officers responded to the point where you had KCFD helping to
absolutely
first aid.
As soon as the rally concluded, there were shots fired on the west side of Union Station. Officers were on scene in the area. I know one of the suspects was immediately pursued on foot. Like I said, there's 2 suspects in custody. I have heard the information that was just requested. I will confirm or deny that. But after that, immediately officers began rendering life-sustaining aid, calling in fire, which is the fire department, to also assist those victims.
Do you know if there were more than 2 people taken into custody? Because we had 2 people, after you guys had made your announcement, there were 2 people in custody, 2 people live on our air being taken, handcuffed, put into vans. So can you talk about that and the process as this investigation continues? I
don't know exactly the 2 that you're talking about that your camera caught on video being loaded into a wagon. I don't know that, but I can tell you that in and around that scene, it is still active. Not active in necessarily threats, but it's a very active scene. We're still investigating. This is still early on. We still have parties that are walking into hospitals.
Do you know anything about the suspects in terms of where they're from? Are they from?
I do not know that, but that's something that I also will be finding out.
2 questions. We are hearing upwards of maybe 20 shots. Can you talk about the number that you heard?
I'm hearing 10 to 15, possibly 15, with the one that is deceased.
And do you know anything about the timing? It seems odd if it's waited to the very end of the rally.
I don't have anything about, I can't give you an answer on the timing. I can just say that that's when it occurred, and we are investigating what led up to that. Maybe once we get some of those details, we'll know why that happened at that time, but right now it's still too new.
Chief, is it just one incident or multiple incidents that injured more?
That is something that is under investigation.
Mayor Lucas talked about how you were on the ground and you yourself had to run for safety. I understand we're still waiting on a timeline and trying to understand what exactly happened. But we were having a Super Bowl parade, and this is what the country is talking about now. What is your message to this city at a time like this?
I second the comments about the chief of police. I'm heartbroken. First of all, I'm praying for the victims and the families impacted. I start with them. I'm incredibly upset, disappointed. I was there with my wife. I was there with my mother. We never would have thought that we, along with Chiefs players, along with fans, hundreds of thousands of people, would be forced to run for our safety today. I think that I'll let the investigation shake out before coming to any further conclusions, but I think the initial response absolutely is anger. You know, we have done a number of these now, and this is a day that a lot of people look forward to, something they remember for a lifetime. And what they shouldn't have to remember is the threat of gun violence, marring a day like this, injuring them and their families. This morning, I was actually thinking about bringing my child, as many people in Kansas City did. And I don't want us to have to, in our country, for every big event, think about a concern of being shot. As the chief noted, we had a lot of law enforcement officers there today. They did exceptional and outstanding work, and I will second that again. Because on your timeline point, I was inside of Union Station. We heard something. A number of us start running, and I see a stream of officers going the exact other direction, in with guns drawn, ready to address danger. And that was the situation throughout. People who responded absolutely immediately. But I wish that we lived in a world where they wouldn't have to do that. I wish we live in a world where we wouldn't have to see incidents like that. But I'm as heartbroken as anybody. We will do a full and thorough investigation. I hope that we bring whoever this is to justice, and we will continue to try to make sure that we can be as safe as possible. However, when you have people who decide to bring guns to events, when you have people who are deciding to try to mar events, celebratory ones like this one, all of us start to become members of this club that none of us want to be a part of, which is those who have experienced mass shootings. I hope for Kansas City this is one of the last times we experience that.
Were the players in any danger at any point?
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
In danger at any point?
Was I in danger?
Or were any of the players? Chiefs players?
You know what? I think we'll let the investigation take a look at that. The police department responded effectively, I think incredibly quickly, to make sure that people would be out of harm's way. That being said, a number of us had to flee from a situation because we heard a sound of gunshots. So I'll let you answer your own question in terms of whether you think that's something that puts you in danger or not. In my view, anytime shots are nearby, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know who's firing them and all of that, then perhaps there is a situation of danger. But
thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. We're going to get back inside.
Can I ask a fire question?
Of the 10 to 15 injured, like you say, are all of those gunshots around, and do you have a sense of how many, or are some of those also critical in injury?
We've covered that. We don't have that information.
I just have a fire question. Hold on. 10 to 15 is what we have. Potentially 15. One deceased. I don't have a condition on the other gunshot victims. Correct. It's correct.
We don't know how many.
One fire question.
No, I do not.
Because Chief Graves said there
We're going to have a lot of updates later, guys. We got to go inside and gather this information. I appreciate it.
Where are the updates, Jake, later?
All right, you've been listening to a news conference.
I just have one. Excuse me. I just have one thing to say. This is not Kansas City. I'm angered by what happened, but I want you to know that the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department and all the law enforcement officers that were there today, that were serving and protecting, did the best that they could, and I'm so proud of them that they ran into danger, getting 2 people into custody, and at the same time rendering life-sustaining aid to those victims. We were here for a safe celebration, and because of 2 bad actors or more is why we're standing here today. We will recover as a city. My heart goes out to our victim who is deceased, but your police department stands ready, and we are invested in the safety and betterment of Kansas City. Thank you.
Visibly upset, Police Chief Stacey Graves saying this is not Kansas City, as she just briefed us on what happened earlier right after the parade celebration. Stacey Graves saying that there is 1 confirmed dead person in this, 10 to 15 others injured. They don't believe there were any children involved.
Maybe some injuries.
Right, they don't believe, but she's saying she doesn't believe there was any children involved, so we'll wait to hear. We hope that's the case. She also said 2 suspects in custody, and then praised all of the first responders who were there when the shots were fired, who immediately, with guns drawn, ran toward danger.
Ran towards it, yeah, and you were seeing there as people were definitely being funneled in as quickly as possible into Union Station to take cover in there. And officers, as Mayor Quentin Lucas was one of them inside Union Station, saw those officers run exactly the opposite direction towards it. And that's why the situation outside seemed to be contained fairly quickly. But then another situation emerged at the Weston Crown Center, completely unrelated, but just on the other corner of that intersection.
Right, and people were told to stay inside at that point. I wish we'd have got some clarification from the chief or the mayor about what happened in that incident. But clearly such a massively chaotic situation today. And it's just left a lot of people shaking their heads. R. Neil Jones was right there, basically in the line of fire. Neil, I know you were very close to what happened.
Well, guys, this is where we were. We were just inside the this intersection here at Pershing and Kessler, about 10 minutes till, I believe, till 2. Anyway, and the fans are leaving. There are thousands of people on the street, hundreds in the intersection, and suddenly, as the police said, a number of gunshots. Could have been as many as 20, may have been 15. I think it happened over a period of about 10 seconds. My photographer thinks it was even quicker, so it was very, very fast. People began to run at us in fear, in utter fear, because they've got their children, they have their parents, their grandparents. This is video that we shot at that moment, in the moments after it happened. Police going in immediately, trying to find out where the gunmen were, running from different directions. People running in all directions, trying to escape the gunfire, trying to get their family members, their children out of danger and into safety. It was a chaotic situation. People began to treat people who were wounded almost immediately. Our photographer says he saw 2 people who were given CPR on the ground before they were taken on golf carts or on stretchers to another area where they were treated. Eventually, there were a number of people who were taken out of here. There was a man that I heard someone say, that's a suspect. I don't know if that's correct or not, but police subdued somebody right over here near the intersection. There were police officers who were running west on Pershing towards the highway. And people said the gunman went that way, and a number of police officers ran that direction. We don't know if that's correct or not, but that kind of shows you the abject terror that was going on in the situation. People trying to find a safe place with their families going in every direction, police running in, trying to figure out who was who and what was what. And as we saw in the video, it was a chaotic situation. I had a chance to talk to 3 people who were escorted out about 25 minutes ago by police from the crime scene. They said that they were eyewitnesses, not to the shooting, but over in front of the stage. And they said that they witnessed the police subduing and arresting someone over in front of the stage. There's no confirmation of that, but that's what 3 eyewitnesses told me about 25 minutes ago. So this was the scene, and that's where the shooting happened. We'll send it back to Brad and Carolyn.
Yeah, Neil, thank you for your eyewitness accounts there. Just unbelievable what transpired just moments after the victory rally for the Kansas City Chiefs there at Union Station this afternoon. Again, confirming now 1 person was indeed killed by gunfire, and 10 to 15 more have injuries as well. 3 local hospitals reporting that they have received patients into their hospitals, and we're waiting to hear confirmation on their conditions, but we understand 3 critical and 5 now in serious condition this afternoon. Also down in that area covering the victory of Kansas City today was our own Scott Reese, and he joins us now live as well. Scott, I know initially you were up on top of the balcony there on the west end, and now you're down on the grounds below. What did you see and hear initially?
Well, initially, Carolyn, we heard the pop, 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 and obviously we all looked at each other and realized that something was decidedly wrong. And we saw moments later just scores of officers running into Union Station from all sides. And, of course, the mass chaos that Neil was describing ensued after that. I did just talk to one woman who didn't want to go on camera, but she was a witness and says she's not sure how close she was to the gunshots, but from the sounds of things and everything that was going on around her, she felt like she was pretty close to it. And just describing more of the sad testimony that we've heard from others, that she hit the ground immediately. She said there was yelling and screaming, children's in the vicinity not knowing what to do, looking around, and obviously parents screaming, worried about their kids. And she now was asking officers if they could give her a ride home because one of her friends was among those taken to the hospital, and she can't get an update on him. So obviously there are still folks here in the area who, not physically injured themselves, were very much emotionally scarred and continue to be emotionally scarred by what was going on. One more ancillary update. Some of the folks here that were working the events for Fox Sports told me that their gear, a lot of it obviously is still inside because they had to evacuate immediately, and they've been told that they can't even think about going back in to get any of it until tomorrow. So obviously there's a lot of investigating still to be done and a lot of remaining questions on many levels here just outside the facility. Guys.
Absolutely harrowing afternoon, Scott. Thank you for your report, and to what Scott was just saying about, people who are still there on site. The one woman saying, or the one person saying, the person I came with is in the hospital. Can you imagine all the people who decided not to go to the celebration, not to go to the parade, and were watching on television, but knew maybe one of their children, a brother, a sister, a loved one. I mean, one of my kids was at the parade, and I got a text, and when I found out they were okay, I mean, huge sigh of relief when you find out one of your kids is okay that's just been, near a mass shooting. So it just strikes so many people, not just the people at the parade, but so many people who knew people who were at the parade. It's like, oh my gosh, are they okay?
Right. I'm hearing from a friend who was in the lockdown at Weston Crown Center. That has since been lifted, but she said, boy, that was a scary day with her little kids in tow. Let's hear from more eyewitnesses who were there to see what transpired there near Union Station this afternoon.
All of a sudden there's a shooting. They're like, get in. We're locking the doors. We're locking the doors now. We're locking the doors. And they just locked the doors on us inside Union Station. Like, I don't know, but like, Kansas City got to do better.
Kansas City must do better.
Well, and
absolutely right.
And that's what we heard from Chief Stacey Graves and Mayor Q. Kansas City has got to do better. There's just violence after a day of what was an unbelievable celebration. The air has been let out of Kansas City, and one dead. Our hearts are broken for that family, and as many as 15 people hurt. Our hearts are broken for those families who are now waiting and wondering about their kids or about their family members who were hurt. So much to digest as we continue to follow this.
On a day that obviously we want to, as a city, put our best foot forward.
Right.
All the spotlights were on us today from all over the country, waiting to see how we would celebrate.
And now they're on
Kansas
us for the
City
wrong
Chiefs.
reason.
Exactly right. And you just mentioned the press conference that the mayor just held with the police chief. Let's go to KCTV5's Angie Racono. She was there at that press conference. Angie.
Yeah, and that's what the chief said. You know, this is not Kansas City. She talked about how disappointed she was at how this ended. Here you have hundreds of thousands of people coming together to celebrate, people behaving, people doing the right thing, and then you have a couple of bad actors that just ruin it for everyone. And then the mayor talked about, you know, he was there with his wife, he was there with his mother, he almost brought his child. So a lot of people just feeling the heaviness of today, and there's still a lot to be worked out as far as the investigation. We do know that 2 people have been taken into custody. As far as the number of people who have been injured, 1 person has been killed. We know at least 10 to 15 other people have been injured. It sounds like those people have been shot. But then on top of it, you have people who also have other injuries because they were running, possibly getting trampled. And the chief saying, you know, we're still seeing people show up at hospitals. So this is really still a developing situation that we're all monitoring. But that feeling that you're talking about people being so happy and then just being so disappointed and disgusted and sad over how this has finally ended here for everyone across Kansas City. Carolyn and Brad.
Absolutely. You could hear it in the mayor's voice. You could hear it in the police chief's voice. They do not want our city to be known for this. Angie, thank you.
All right, we want to get right back out to some other, we've talked to so many people who were there. Here's some more stories of what people who were there and saw what happened. Here's what they had to say.
And I'm proud of the response of the first responders that were assigned to this event and responded appropriately and helped to save lives. Now, the planning that goes into this incident of national significance, a Super Bowl celebration, is quite significant. And so you have the federal partners, FBI, others, you have the state and local agencies all working together with significant plans, looking at what can happen, you know, what will happen with the resources that are dedicated to it if such an incident occurs.
All right, that's a former New York City police officer that is weighing in on what had happened with the aftermath of what had been a remarkable championship celebration and parade. And you know, Angie Racono put it well. I mean, most people across Kansas City are now just kind of shaking their head and fingers and hearts crossed for those who were hurt and for the family member of the person who was killed.
That poor family, and so many families affected by this. Now, not to mention the hundreds of others who witnessed this and are emotionally shaken right now, and obviously a lot of children in that audience today. So let's.
All right, that is our sister station, KCTV in Kansas City.
talking about 1 person dead and at least 10 to 15 injured in a shooting where the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade was ending at an area known as Union Square. That's where the speeches were on the stage. It was kind of the rallying point and the end of the parade route as the Chiefs were celebrating back-to-back Super Bowl wins. We did want to take just a couple of notes from that. They are saying that 1 person is dead and 10 to 15 have been injured from the shooting. That does not count, as reporter Angie Racono said, people who were hurt while fleeing. So whether that is tripping and falling or running into each other, there were more people hurt from that. And we did hear from our colleagues there in Kansas City saying there were a lot of kids in the crowd, and we saw a lot of them in some of the footage. We are going to end this live stream, but if you want, you can continue watching on our website, WILX.com. It is on our homepage, and you can also find it by clicking news. And then right here where it says national, my apologies, it moves right there. National, it is right there at the top. Again, this is from, as you can see, there are sister station KCTV in Kansas City. We also do have some of the responses from players on the Chiefs team, including quarterback Patrick Mahomes, speaking about the incident in Kansas City. So like I said, we're going to end this live stream that you are watching here on Facebook and YouTube. It is going to continue on our website, WILX.com, so make sure you check that out. We also have it in our newscasts that are going on right now, 5, 5:30, and 6, as well as 10 and 11 p.m. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. There's been a lot of questions. Hopefully we answered them as best as we can. Again, when all this stuff happens and we have these live streams, we really do look to you guys to ask questions in these live chats and kind of get more information as things are going on. So we're going to end and see you on our website, WILX.com. Again, it is here, both on our homepage and under national. Right here at this very top, where it says live, police chief says at least 1 dead in shooting following Chiefs Super Bowl parade, up to 15 injured. We're going to continue the live stream on that story right there. Have a good night, everybody.